The information provided in this video is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute professional financial, academic, or legal advice. Navigating the landscape of higher education funding involves significant financial decisions and varying institutional policies. While we discuss historical trends and potential outcomes based on successful case studies, individual results will vary based on personal merit, financial background, and the specific requirements of awarding bodies. Viewers are strongly encouraged to conduct their own due diligence, consult with official university financial aid offices, and verify all application deadlines and eligibility criteria independently before making any commitments. We do not guarantee the receipt of any scholarship or financial award. The American dream of a college education has officially become a debt trap that is swallowing an entire generation whole. Right now, the total student loan debt in the United States has soared past $1.7 trillion, a figure so massive it is difficult to comprehend. The average graduate walks off the commencement stage with a diploma in one hand and a $37,000 debt obligation in the other. For many, this isn't just a monthly payment. It is a decade-long delay on buying a home, starting a family, or launching a business. But here is the reality that the university bursars' offices rarely highlight in their glossy brochures. There are billions of dollars in undergraduate scholarship funding that go unclaimed every single year simply because students do not know where to look or how to ask. We are talking about a massive pool of capital reserved for people just like you. Yet the majority of applicants focus on the same 5% of hyper-competitive national awards, while ignoring the massive middle market of institutional and private funding. If you have ever felt that a top-tier education was a luxury reserved only for the ultra-wealthy or the top 0.1% of academic geniuses, you have been misled by a system that thrives on opacity. Today we are breaking that cycle. This is not a surface-level overview. This is a deep-dive masterclass designed to strip away the confusion and provide you with a high-level strategic framework for securing undergraduate funding. This video solves the single biggest problem facing prospective students and their families today: the paralyzing fear of the tuition price tag. By the end of this session, you will understand how to bypass the standard sticker price of American universities and build a diversified portfolio of scholarship applications that maximize your potential outcomes. To understand the magnitude of what we are discussing, we have to look at the data. According to recent historical trends, private colleges in the United States have an average tuition and fee cost of over $40,000 per year. When you add room, board, books, and personal expenses, that number frequently climbs north of $65,000. Over 4 years, you are looking at a $250,000 investment. However, data from the National Association of College and University Business Officers shows that the average tuition discount rate for first-time, full-time undergraduates has reached an all-time high of over 50%. This means that for many students, the price you see on the website is nothing more than a suggestion. The gap between that sticker price and what you actually pay is filled by scholarships, but you cannot wait for the university to offer them to you out of the goodness of their hearts. You have to be proactive. Let's look at a case study of a student we will call Marcus. Marcus was a solid student with a 3.5 GPA, good, but not the valedictorian. He didn't have a perfect SAT score, and he wasn't a star athlete. Most people told him he'd have to settle for a local state school and heavy loans. Instead, Marcus applied a 3-step systematic approach to his search. He moved beyond the big 3 scholarship search engines that everyone uses and started looking at niche localism. By identifying 5 local community foundations in his hometown and 3 professional associations related to his intended major in civil engineering, he secured $12,000 in annual recurring funding before he even stepped foot on campus. That $12,000, compounded over 4 years, saved him nearly $50,000 in principal debt, which, when you factor in interest rates, saved him closer to $80,000 over the life of a standard 10-year loan. The problem most students face is not a lack of money. It is a lack of strategy. Most people treat scholarship hunting like a lottery. They find a massive national award like the Coca-Cola Scholars Program or the Gates Scholarship, see that there are tens of thousands of applicants for a handful of spots, get discouraged when they don't win, and stop trying. That is the equivalent of trying to win the Powerball instead of building a high-yield savings account. The secret to funding your education lies in the microscholarship strategy and the institutional lever. The institutional lever is the most powerful tool in your arsenal. Universities are businesses, and like any business, they have specific goals. Some want to increase their geographic diversity. Others want to boost their average GPA for national rankings. Others are trying to grow a specific department, like women in STEM or rural arts. When you align your profile with the specific strategic needs of a university, you transform from a customer into an asset. Assets get funded. Throughout this masterclass, we are going to show you exactly how to research a university's common data set to see where they are lacking, and how you can position your application to fill that void, effectively forcing them to offer you merit-based aid to entice you to enroll. Furthermore, we need to address the hidden market of scholarships. Think of scholarship funding like an iceberg. The national awards everyone talks about are the 10% visible above the water. The other 90% is submerged. These are the scholarships offered by local Rotary clubs, small-town Elks Lodges, regional credit unions, and even specific legacy funds established by alumni who graduated 50 years ago with very specific criteria, like being a first-generation student from a specific county who plays the oboe. These organizations often struggle to find enough qualified applicants. In some documented cases, local scholarships have had 0 applicants in a given year, meaning the money just sat in a bank account. We are going to teach you the deep search methodology to find these ghost scholarships that have high payout potential with nearly 0 competition. This process requires a shift in mindset. You are no longer a student begging for a break. You are a professional researcher securing capital for a high-value project, your future. We will detail the exact timeline you need to follow, because timing is often more important than talent. If you are looking for scholarships in the spring of your senior year, you have already missed 60% of the opportunities. The elite level strategy begins in the junior year, building the scholarship resume, and the master essay bank that allows you to churn out 50 high-quality applications in the time it takes most students to write 2. We are going to deconstruct the vulnerability loop in essay writing, a technique used by successful applicants to create an emotional connection with scholarship committees without sounding like they are complaining. This is about narrative architecture. We are also going to tackle the logistical nightmare of the FAFSA and the CSS profile. While these are technically financial aid forms, they are the gateway to institutional scholarships. One wrong box checked on these forms can cost you thousands of dollars in need-blind merit aid. We will walk through the critical data points that most families overlook, ensuring that your financial snapshot is presented accurately and advantageously. By the time we are done, the daunting task of paying for college will be transformed into a manageable step-by-step business plan. You have the potential to change your financial trajectory for the rest of your life. The debt-free degree is not a myth. It is a result of calculated, relentless execution. Let's begin Step 1. Step 1 is the process of architectural research, which is the foundation upon which every successful scholarship strategy is built. Most students approach their search by typing scholarships for college into a search engine and clicking on the first 3 links that appear. This is a reactive strategy that puts you in direct competition with 5 million other applicants. To succeed in 2026, you must transition to a proactive, data-driven researcher. Imagine a high school senior named Chloe living in Columbus, Ohio. Chloe has a 3.8 GPA and a passion for environmental science. If Chloe only applies for the massive national environmental scholarships, her statistical probability of success is mathematically low because she is competing against every top-tier student in the country. However, if Chloe applies architectural research, she begins by mapping out her specific identifiers: her geography, her intended major, her extracurricular involvements, and her family's professional affiliations. Architectural research begins with the institutional data dive. Before you even look at external private scholarships, you must understand the internal math of the universities on your list. Every college in the United States publishes what is known as a common data set. This is a standardized document that contains raw data on everything from enrollment numbers to financial aid distributions. If you go to a university's website and search for Common Data Set 2025 to 2026, you will find a goldmine of information in Section H, which covers financial aid. This section explicitly states how much institutional lead-based aid and non-need-based merit aid was awarded to the previous year's freshman class. For instance, you might discover that a specific university awarded non-need merit scholarships to 25% of its incoming class, with an average award of $15,000. This data tells you immediately if a school is a high-probability target for merit funding. If a school only awards merit aid to 2% of its students, your time is better spent elsewhere. Historical trends show that mid-tier private universities often have more aggressive merit aid budgets than elite Ivy League schools, which often only provide need-based aid. Once you have identified high-probability institutions, you move to the second layer of Step 1, the localized radius search. This is where the real money is found. You must visualize your search as a series of concentric circles starting from your own front door. The innermost circle is your high school's guidance office. In 2026, many students ignore the physical bulletin boards or the internal school portals like Naviance or Shoelinks. This is a critical error. Local businesses and community members often establish scholarships that are only available to students at your specific high school. When a local hardware store offers a $1,000 scholarship to a graduating senior, the applicant pool might only be 10 or 15 people. Those are the best odds you will ever find in the scholarship world. Expanding to the next circle, you look at county-level and city-level foundations. Organizations like the Cleveland Foundation or the Silicon Valley Community Foundation manage hundreds of individual scholarship funds established by local donors. These funds are often highly specific. You might find a fund dedicated to students from a specific zip code who are the first in their family to attend college, or a fund for students who have volunteered more than 100 hours at a local animal shelter. Case studies of successful applicants in 2026 show that students who secure 4 or 5 of these smaller, local awards of $1,000 to $2,000 each often end up with a more stable financial package than those who swing for a single $40,000 national award. The third layer of architectural research involves professional and affinity mapping. You need to sit down with a blank sheet of paper and list every organization that you, your parents, or even your grandparents are affiliated with. This includes labor unions, professional associations like the American Medical Association or the National Society of Black Engineers, civic groups like the Rotary Club or the Kiwanis, and even your employer. If you work part-time at a major retailer or fast food chain, check their corporate social responsibility page. Companies like Starbucks, Walmart, and Chick-fil-A have robust scholarship programs for their employees that go underutilized every year. Furthermore, look at your parents' employers. Many large corporations offer dependent scholarships as a benefit to their employees. This is money that is essentially reserved for a very small pool of people, and if you fit the criteria, your potential outcomes are significantly higher than in the general market. Step 1 also requires a digital organization system. You cannot manage this level of detail in your head. You must create a master scholarship spreadsheet. This spreadsheet should have columns for the scholarship name, the provider, the deadline, the specific requirements, the essay prompts, and the status of your letters of recommendation. In 2026, the use of automated alerts is essential. Set up Google Alerts for keywords specific to your profile, such as scholarships for female engineers in Ohio or undergraduate funding for journalism students. This ensures that as new opportunities are posted throughout the year, they are delivered directly to your inbox. Consider the case of a student named David from Austin, Texas. David spent the first 3 months of his junior year solely on architectural research. He didn't write a single essay. Instead, he built a database of 65 potential funding sources. He categorized them by difficulty and deadline. By the time senior year began, he wasn't scrambling to find where to apply. He was executing a pre-planned mission. He identified a specific scholarship from a Texas-based credit union that required him to be a member for at least 6 months. Because he did his research early, he opened an account in time to qualify. Had he waited until his senior year to start searching, he would have been ineligible for that $3,000 recurring award. This is the difference between a reactive student and a strategic applicant. Deep dive research also means looking at the specific faculty and departmental scholarships within a university. Many students apply to the General University Admissions Office and stop there. However, individual departments, like the Department of Chemistry or the School of Communications, often have their own private endowments. These are separate from the main financial aid office. You should be emailing department heads or undergraduate coordinators to ask if there are specific scholarships for incoming freshmen in that major. This level of granular inquiry demonstrates a level of seriousness and initiative that sets you apart from the thousands of generic applications they receive. As you compile this list, you must also perform a social media audit of the scholarship providers. Look at who they have awarded in the past. Most organizations post photos or bios of their previous winners on their websites or Instagram pages. This provides a clear blueprint of the type of student they value. Do they prefer students with high academic marks? Or are they more interested in community service and leadership? By analyzing historical winners, you can tailor your future applications to mirror the values that the committee has already proven they are willing to fund. This isn't about changing who you are, It's about highlighting the specific parts of your story that resonate most with each specific audience. But even with the most perfect list of scholarships and a flawless organizational system, there is a hidden trap that causes 80% of students to fail before they even submit their first application. This trap has nothing to do with your GPA or your family's income. It has to do with a specific set of documents that most people treat as a formality, but which scholarship committees use as a filter to instantly disqualify applicants. If you don't master the art of the narrative pivot and the letter of recommendation strategy, your research will be for nothing. In the next part, we are going to dive into the high-stakes world of application engineering, where we will show you the exact psychological triggers that make a committee stop scanning and start reading. Welcome to Step 2, Application Engineering. This is where we transition from the library of data to the theater of persuasion. If architectural research was about finding the money, application engineering is about convincing the people holding that money that you are the most logical and impactful investment they can make this year. In 2026, scholarship committees are exhausted. They are reading thousands of essays generated by generic templates or uninspired prompt fillers. To stand out, you must master the narrative pivot. Most students write essays that are a chronological list of their achievements. They say, I joined this club in 10th grade, then I became president in 12th grade, and now I want to study biology. This is a fatal mistake because it is a passive recount of the past. A narrative pivot turns your history into a trajectory for the future. You are not telling them what you did. You are explaining how what you did has prepared you to solve a specific problem they care about. Imagine if a student named Elena, a high school senior from Phoenix, Arizona, wants to apply for a scholarship funded by a regional health foundation. Instead of writing about how she likes helping people, she uses the narrative pivot to focus on a specific observation: the lack of mobile health clinics in her rural neighborhood. She tells the story of a single afternoon volunteering at a food bank and noticing the number of elderly residents asking for basic medical advice they couldn't afford to get at a hospital. She then pivots this story into her academic goal of becoming a nurse practitioner to serve those specific underrepresented communities. By doing this, Elena stops being just another applicant with a high GPA and starts being a solution to a community problem. The scholarship committee isn't just giving Elena money for tuition. They are investing in the health of Phoenix. Historical trends show that committees are 40% more likely to fund students who present a clear, actionable vision for how their education will benefit a specific demographic or cause. This brings us to the concept of the master essay bank. In 2026, the sheer volume of applications required to be successful means you cannot write every essay from scratch. You need 5 core modules that can be mixed, matched, and expanded upon. These modules are the origin story, which covers your background and why you chose your path; the failure module, which details the time you fell short and what you learned; the leadership module, which isn't about a title but about a moment you influenced others; the community impact module, which shows your footprint; and the future vision, which maps out your 10-year goal. By engineering these 5 high-quality stories early, you can adapt 80% of your scholarship applications in minutes rather than hours. This allows for the high-volume strategy necessary to secure multiple awards. Now, let's talk about the psychological triggers of specificity. Scholarship committees are looking for evidence, not adjectives. If you say you are a hard worker, they won't believe you. If you say you balanced a 20-hour work week at a local library, while maintaining a varsity soccer schedule and a 4.0 GPA, you have proven you are a hard worker without ever using the word. In application engineering, we call this the show, don't tell rule. Case studies of successful recipients at major state universities in 2026 reveal that the winning essays frequently use sensory details and specific data. Instead of saying, I raised a lot of money for charity, they wrote, I organized a community car wash that raised $2,400 for the local children's hospital, which provided 48 specialized care kits for new patients. That number 48 is a psychological anchor. It makes your impact real and measurable. The next critical component of Step 2 is the strategic recommendation protocol. Most students treat letters of recommendation like an afterthought. They ask a teacher a week before the deadline and hope for the best. In a high-stakes masterclass, we do things differently. You must provide your recommenders with a brag sheet. This is a one-page document that reminds them of specific moments you excelled in their class. If you are asking your AP history teacher, your brag sheet should mention that specific essay you wrote on the Industrial Revolution or the time you led the debate on the Great Depression. You are essentially ghostwriting the themes of the letter for them. This ensures that the letters aren't just generic praise, but are aligned with the narrative pivot you are using in your own essays. When a committee sees a student claim to be a leader, and then sees a teacher provide a specific example of that leadership, the credibility of the application skyrockets. We also have to address the 2026 digital audit. Scholarship committees are increasingly checking the social media presence of their finalists. Application engineering includes scrubbing your public profiles. However, it goes beyond just removing negative content. It is about adding positive signals. If you are applying for an engineering scholarship, does your LinkedIn or your public-facing Instagram show your interest in building things? Do you follow industry leaders? Have you posted about a project you are working on? Think of your online presence as an unprompted essay that the committee finds on their own. If your digital footprint reinforces your narrative pivot, it creates a sense of authenticity that is impossible to fake. Consider the case of Jordan, a student from Charlotte, North Carolina, who was applying for a prestigious scholarship from a national retail corporation. Jordan had a solid application, but he knew the competition would be fierce. He used the narrative pivot to focus on his experience working as a shift lead at a grocery store during a summer of labor shortages. He didn't complain about the long hours. He wrote about how he developed an inventory tracking system on his phone to help his team work more efficiently. He then asked his store manager to write a letter of recommendation, specifically highlighting this inventory system. Jordan was essentially branding himself as the efficiency specialist. This theme ran through his essays, his letters of recommendation, and even his LinkedIn profile. When the committee reviewed his file, he wasn't just another student who worked at a store. He was a problem solver with a track record of innovation. He secured a $15,000 annual award, not because he was the smartest person in the room, but because he was the most effectively engineered applicant. Furthermore, you must understand the nuance of the financial narrative. Many scholarships, even those that are merit-based, have a secondary consideration for financial circumstances. However, there is a right way and a wrong way to talk about money. The wrong way is to focus on the struggle in a way that feels hopeless. The right way is to frame your financial situation as a hurdle that you are already in the process of clearing. This is the vulnerability loop. You acknowledge the challenge, explain how you have navigated it so far, and then explain how this specific scholarship is the final piece of the puzzle that will allow you to cross the finish line. You are inviting the committee to be a part of a success story that is already in motion. This level of engineering requires you to be ruthless with your editing. Every sentence in your application must serve a purpose. If it doesn't demonstrate a skill, highlight a value, or provide a piece of evidence, it must be deleted. We are aiming for high-density applications that provide more value per word than any other student in the pile. But even with a perfectly engineered application, many students fail at the final stage. They submit their work and then sit back, waiting for a letter in the mail. They forget that the scholarship process doesn't end when you hit the submit button. There is a third step, a method used by the most successful applicants in the United States, that involves a series of follow-up maneuvers and leverage tactics that can actually increase your funding after you have already been accepted. If you think the offer is the final word, you are leaving thousands of dollars on the table. In the next part, we are going to break down Step 3, the leverage and negotiation phase, where we show you exactly how to turn one scholarship offer into 3. Step 3, the leverage and negotiation phase. Most students treat a financial aid award letter like a final verdict, but in the sophisticated world of higher education in 2026, that letter is often just the opening bid. We are now entering the territory of professional advocacy. This is the phase where you move beyond simply being an applicant and start acting as a strategic partner in the university's enrollment goals. To understand this, you must recognize that colleges have high-level enrollment targets they need to hit to maintain their rankings and financial health. If you have been accepted, it means they want you. If you have been accepted at multiple similar institutions, you have leverage. This is not about being demanding. It is about the professional presentation of competing data points to achieve better potential outcomes. Imagine a student named Sarah from Denver, Colorado. Sarah has been accepted into 3 mid-tier private universities, all with strong biology programs. University A offered her $15,000 in merit aid. University B offered her $20,000. University C, her first choice, only offered $12,000. Most students in Sarah's position would either settle for University C and take on the extra debt or sadly decline A and go to University B. However, Sarah understands the professional appeal protocol. She knows that University C likely has a pool of reserve funds specifically set aside for late-stage recruitment to ensure they don't lose top-tier candidates to their direct competitors. The first move in Step 3 is the competing offer comparison. Sarah does not simply call the financial aid office and ask for more money. Instead, she drafts a formal financial aid appeal letter. In this document, she reiterates her strong desire to attend University C and specifically mentions how her research interests align with their new undergraduate lab facilities. Then, she professionally presents the data. She notes that while University C remains her top choice, the financial reality of the $20,000 offer from University B, a peer institution with a similar ranking, makes it difficult for her family to justify the gap. She attaches the award letter from University B as evidence. This is not a threat. It is a request for a match. Historical trends in 2026 show that many private institutions will move their merit offers by $3,000 to $5,000 if presented with a documented competing offer from a comparable school. The second move is the change in circumstance protocol. This is particularly relevant if your family's financial situation has shifted since you filed your FAFSA or CSS profile. The data used by these systems is often 2 years old. In 2026, a lot can happen in 24 months. If a parent has changed jobs, if there have been significant medical expenses, or even if the cost of living in your specific area has spiked due to inflation, these are valid reasons to request a professional judgment review. Case studies from the 2025 to 2026 academic year show that students who can provide line-item documentation of increased expenses or decreased income are often eligible for an adjustment in their need-based aid, which can be stacked on top of their existing merit scholarships. Let's look at the data on appeal success. According to several higher education advocacy groups, approximately 50% of students who formally appeal their financial aid packages receive some form of additional funding. The key is the specificity of the request. You cannot just say, college is expensive. You must say, based on the current cost of attendance of $68,000 and our documented household contribution of $20,000, we have a gap of $48,000. With the current scholarship of $12,000, we are still $36,000 short. We are requesting an additional $5,000 in departmental merit aid to make this enrollment viable. By giving the financial aid officer a specific number, you make it easier for them to go to their supervisor and find a way to make the math work. Another powerful leverage point is the academic update. If you secured a major award, won a state-level competition, or significantly improved your GPA after you submitted your initial application, this is new data. In 2026, universities are constantly re-evaluating their incoming class profile. If you can show that your value as an asset has increased since they first read your file, you can request a merit revaluation. For example, if you were a finalist for a National Merit Award, or if you completed a high-level internship in the spring of your senior year, this information should be sent immediately to the admissions office with a request to have your merit scholarship reconsidered. This shows the university that you are a high-momentum student who will continue to bring prestige to their campus. Consider the case of Leo, a student from Atlanta, Georgia, who was pursuing a degree in cybersecurity. Leo was accepted into a prestigious polytechnic institute, but received no merit aid initially. Instead of giving up, Leo utilized Step 3. He reached out to the head of the cybersecurity department directly, not the financial aid office. He shared a project he had recently completed involving a local nonprofit's data security. The department head was so impressed with the real-world application of Leo's skills that they tapped into a specific departmental endowment fund to provide Leo with a $7,000 annual scholarship. This is the power of the side door negotiation. Financial aid offices manage the general funds, but department heads often have discretionary funds for students who demonstrate exceptional departmental fit. This negotiation phase also extends to the private sector. If you have secured a private scholarship from a local foundation, you should check if the university has a scholarship matching program. Some universities will match external scholarships up to a certain dollar amount to encourage students to bring in outside funding. Furthermore, you must be wary of scholarship displacement. This is a policy where a university reduces your institutional aid because you won an external scholarship. In 2026, many states have passed legislation to limit this practice, but it still exists. Part of your leverage strategy is asking the financial aid office point blank, if I bring in $5,000 from the Rotary Club, will you reduce my university grant? If the answer is yes, you may need to negotiate for that external money to be applied to your self-help portion first, meaning your loans or work study, rather than your grants. Success in Step 3 requires a high degree of professional etiquette. These negotiations are conducted through well-crafted emails and scheduled phone calls, never through social media or casual DMs. You are building a relationship with the people who will be managing your account for the next 4 years. When you treat them as allies rather than obstacles, the potential outcomes shift in your favor. You are essentially teaching the university how to recruit you. However, even if you secure the perfect financial package for your freshman year, the journey is only 25% complete. One of the biggest mistakes students make is assuming that the scholarships they win today will automatically be there tomorrow. There is a specific high-maintenance protocol required to keep your funding and actually increase it during your sophomore, junior, and senior years. If you don't understand the renewal trap and the internal transfer strategy, you might find yourself facing a massive bill in your second year that you weren't prepared for. In the next part, we are going to look at the long-term sustainability of your funding and how to ensure that your scholarship portfolio grows as you move through your degree. The second year of university is often where the financial dream goes to die, and in 2026, this is known as the renewal trap. Most students celebrate their freshman financial aid package as if it is a 4-year contract, but the reality is that many merit-based scholarships are contingent on a set of strict, non-negotiable metrics that catch thousands of students off guard every single spring. To maintain a debt-free trajectory, you must understand the maintenance phase of scholarship management. Historical trends show that nearly 30% of students lose at least one portion of their merit funding by their sophomore year, not because they are failing their classes, but because they didn't realize their 3.2 GPA scholarship required a 3.5 for renewal, or because they dropped a single 3-credit course and fell below the full-time enrollment threshold. Imagine a student named Maya, an engineering major at a top public university in Michigan in 2026. Maya entered her freshman year with a $15,000 annual merit award. By the middle of her second semester, the workload of Calculus 2 and physics began to take a toll. To save her mental health, Maya decided to drop her elective art history class, moving from 15 credits down to 12. On paper, she was still a full-time student. However, the fine print of her specific scholarship stated that renewal required the completion of 30 credits per academic year. By dropping that one class, she fell to 27 credits. When she received her financial aid statement for her sophomore year, the $15,000 credit was missing. This is the renewal trap in action. Maya's story is a case study in why you must read the scholarship disclosure agreement with the same intensity that you read a legal contract. You are looking for 3 specific numbers: the minimum cumulative GPA, the minimum credit hours per semester, and the total credit hours per year. To avoid this, you need a scholarship maintenance calendar. This is a digital system where you track the specific deadlines for every award you currently hold. In 2026, many private scholarships require a yearly progress report or a renewed application. They don't just send you a check every year automatically. You often have to submit your current transcript and a brief essay describing your academic progress. If you miss that July 1st deadline because you were focused on your summer internship, that money is gone, and it is almost impossible to get back. Furthermore, you must proactively engage with the academic forgiveness policies of your university. If you have a bad semester that threatens your scholarship GPA, many institutions allow for a one-time grade replacement or a probationary period for financial aid. If you wait until the award is revoked to speak up, your leverage is zero. If you speak to your financial aid advisor in April when you see the grade slipping, your potential outcomes for an extension are significantly higher. But maintenance is only half of the strategy. The most successful students in 2026 use the internal transfer strategy to actually increase their funding while they are already in school. Most of the scholarship competition happens during the admissions cycle for high school seniors. Once you are actually enrolled in the university, the pool of competitors shrinks dramatically. There are hundreds of scholarships that are specifically reserved for current students who have completed at least 30 or 60 credit hours. These are often funded by alumni who want to support students who have already proven they can handle the rigor of the university. Consider the case of Jackson, a junior at a university in Seattle. Jackson started with a modest $5,000 scholarship. During his sophomore year, he utilized the internal transfer strategy by visiting the Dean of Students' office and the head of the political science department. He discovered that the department had 5 different endowed scholarships specifically for juniors with an interest in urban planning. Because Jackson had built a relationship with his professors and maintained a strong GPA, he was encouraged to apply. Since these awards were only open to the 150 students in his specific major, his odds were 10 times better than they were during his high school search. He ended up stacking an additional $12,000 in departmental aid, effectively turning a partial scholarship into a near-full ride by his third year. The key to unlocking this internal money is departmental immersion. Every college within a university, the College of Business, the College of Liberal Arts, the College of Science, has its own separate pot of money. These funds are often not advertised on the main university financial aid page. You have to go to the specific department website and look for a tab labeled Undergraduate Awards or Endowments. In 2026, many of these applications open in February and close in March for the following academic year. You should also be looking for research grants as a form of scholarship. As an undergraduate, you can often get paid to assist a professor with their research. In many cases, this isn't just a paycheck. It is structured as a tuition credit or a research fellowship. If you can secure a position as an undergraduate research assistant, you are essentially creating your own scholarship through your labor and academic contribution. Another often overlooked tactic is the donor relations protocol. If you are currently receiving a private scholarship or an endowed university award, you should be writing a high-quality, professional thank you letter to the donor or the foundation every single year. In a digital world, a physical handwritten letter is a powerful differentiator. This does more than just show manners, it builds a brand. If a foundation sees that you are grateful and that their money is truly making an impact on your life, they are much more likely to prioritize your renewal or even increase your award if you hit a financial snag. Case studies of long-term scholarship recipients show that those who maintain a relationship with their donors are frequently selected for additional leadership opportunities and networking events that lead to high-paying internships. We also have to discuss the FAFSA and CSS profile update strategy. Many families assume that if their income didn't change much, their aid won't change. But in 2026, the formulas for financial aid are highly sensitive to family dynamics. For instance, if you have a younger sibling who is entering college while you are a junior, your family's Student Aid Index (SAI) will often drop significantly. This change can trigger a massive increase in need-based grants from the university. You must ensure that you are filing your FAFSA as early as possible, ideally in October, to capture these shifts in eligibility. If you wait until the spring, the university may have already allocated its discretionary grant money to the incoming freshman class. Imagine you are a sophomore, and you realize you have a $2,000 gap in your tuition for the next semester. Instead of reaching for a high-interest private loan, you should look for emergency microgrants. Most universities in the United States now have an emergency fund for students facing unexpected financial hardship. Whether it is a medical bill, a car repair, or a change in your parents' employment, these grants can provide an immediate one-time infusion of $500 to $2,000. They are often managed by the Dean of Students and do not require a formal scholarship application. They just require a conversation and documentation of the need. This entire process of maintenance and internal searching turns your degree into a living financial document. You are constantly optimizing, constantly looking for new pots of money, and constantly protecting the funds you already have. This is the difference between surviving college and thriving in it. But there is a final high-level skill that the top 1% of scholarship winners use to finalize their funding. It involves the way you present your accomplishments not just on paper but in person. Many of the highest value scholarships, the ones that cover 100% of your costs, require an interview or a portfolio defense. If you can't translate your written excellence into a verbal performance, all of your research and engineering will fall short at the finish line. In the next part, we are going to dive into the psychological interview strategy, where we will show you how to dominate the scholarship committee room and turn an interview into an offer. The scholarship interview is the final gatekeeper, the moment where you transition from a two-dimensional profile on a screen into a living, breathing investment for the committee. In 2026, with the rise of automated screening and high-volume applications, the interview has become the ultimate differentiator. This is where the committee looks for the one thing an algorithm cannot detect: human resonance. When you walk into that room, or more likely in 2026, when you log into that high-definition virtual meeting space, you are not there to repeat your resume. You are there to execute the psychological interview strategy. This strategy is built on the principle that people do not fund students. They fund the potential outcomes of those students. Imagine a student named Liam, a high school senior from Miami, Florida, who has reached the final round for a prestigious $75,000 leadership scholarship. Liam has a 3.9 GPA, and has founded a local initiative that teaches digital literacy to senior citizens. On paper, he is excellent, but so are the other 9 finalists. To win, Liam must move beyond the standard interview responses and utilize the 3-act response structure. Most students answer questions in a linear, boring fashion. When asked, "Tell us about a time you led a team," they describe the event from start to finish. Liam, using the 3-act structure, starts with the climax. He begins with the moment of highest tension. The day the power went out during a digital literacy seminar for 60 seniors. He then flashes back to the preparation and finishes with the resolution, how he transitioned the entire seminar to manual workbooks and maintained engagement. This narrative technique creates immediate engagement and makes his leadership tangible. The cornerstone of the psychological interview strategy is the mirroring and mapping technique. Within the first 2 minutes of the interview, you must identify the primary values of the committee members. In 2026, committees are often composed of a mix of faculty members, alumni donors, and current students. Each group has a different psychological driver. Faculty members value academic rigor and research potential. Alumni donors value legacy and the emotional impact of the scholarship. Current students value community and relatability. Liam maps his answers to these drivers. When a faculty member asks about his project, he emphasizes the data collection and the pedagogical methods he used to teach the seniors. When an alumnus asks, he tells a story about a specific senior who was finally able to video call her grandson. This multi-layered communication ensures that every person on the panel feels that Liam is the right choice for their specific reason. Historical trends show that 70% of scholarship interviews in 2026 are conducted virtually. This requires a specific subset of application engineering, digital presence optimization. Liam ensures his lighting is coming from the front, his camera is at eye level, and his background is clean but professional, perhaps showing a bookshelf with relevant titles. But the psychological secret of virtual interviews is eye contact calibration. If you look at the person's eyes on your screen, it appears to them like you are looking down. To create the psychological feeling of a direct connection, Liam trains himself to look directly into the camera lens while speaking. This creates a sense of confidence and directness that is often lost in digital interactions. Let's dive into the STAR-L method, which is the gold standard for behavioral questions in 2026. This stands for situation, task, action, result, and most importantly, learning. Most students stop at result. They say, "We raised $5,000. But the scholarship committee is more interested in the learning. Liam explains that the $5,000 was great, but the real value was learning how to manage a budget and navigate local city council regulations. This shows a level of maturity and self-reflection that is characteristic of high-potential scholars. Case studies of top-tier scholarship winners reveal that those who can articulate their failures and the subsequent learning are significantly more likely to receive funding than those who present a facade of perfection. Perfection is a lie. Growth is an asset. Another high-level tactic is the future value proposition. At some point, the committee will ask, "Why do you deserve this scholarship?" This is a trap question. No one deserves a scholarship more than anyone else based on merit alone. Instead of talking about his past hard work, Liam talks about the future. He frames the scholarship as a catalyst. He says, "This funding isn't a reward for what I have done. It is the fuel for what I am going to do." He explains exactly how the $75,000 will allow him to focus on a specific research project in urban sustainability without the distraction of a part-time job. He gives them a roadmap of his next 4 years, showing them exactly where their money is going and what the potential outcomes will be. He is inviting them to be stakeholders in his success. We also need to address the reverse interview. Every interview ends with, "Do you have any questions for us?" This is your final chance to anchor your brand. Liam doesn't ask about the housing or the meal plan. He asks a high-level strategic question. "I saw that the university is planning to expand its community outreach program by 2028. How does this scholarship committee see the role of its scholars in that expansion?" This question does 3 things. It proves Liam has done his research, it shows he is thinking about the long-term future of the university, and it forces the committee to imagine him as part of that future. Consider the psychological concept of the echo effect. After Liam leaves the room or closes the laptop, the committee will discuss him. He wants to leave them with a sticky phrase, a short, memorable description of his identity. For Liam, it was the digital bridge builder. Every story he told and every answer he gave reinforced this identity. When the committee deliberates, they don't say, "That kid with the 3.9 GPA. They say, "The digital bridge builder." This makes it incredibly easy for the committee to advocate for him. If you haven't engineered your echo effect, you risk being forgotten in a sea of generic excellence. Finally, the professional follow-up is the closing of the loop. In 2026, a simple email is expected, but a personalized digital portfolio or a brief, 30-second video message sent as a follow-up can be the tipping point. Liam sends a personalized email to each committee member within 4 hours, referencing a specific point they discussed. This shows attention to detail and a high level of professional social intelligence. It reinforces the idea that he is not just a student but a professional in training. However, the interview is just the final performance. There is a hidden layer of the scholarship world that most people never see, involving the way awards are combined and the legalities of how they are paid out. Even if you win the interview and secure the offer, you can still lose the money if you don't understand the rules of award stacking and the tax implications of undergraduate funding. In 2026, the difference between a student who gets a check and a student who gets a tax bill is often just a few lines of fine print. In the next part, we are going to explore the financial architecture of your awards, where we show you how to protect your funding and maximize every dollar you receive. The moment you receive an award letter is often met with pure celebration, but in the sophisticated financial landscape of 2026, this is actually the moment your most critical accounting work begins. You have successfully navigated the search, the engineering, and the interview, but now you must master the financial architecture of your awards to ensure you actually keep the value you have earned. Many students are shocked to find that winning a $10,000 private scholarship does not always mean they are $10,000 richer. Without a strategic approach to award stacking and tax planning, you might fall victim to institutional policies that effectively transfer your hard-earned scholarship money back into the university's pocket. Imagine a student named Mia, a freshman from Chicago attending a private university in 2026. Mia was a superstar applicant who secured a $12,000 local community scholarship on top of her $15,000 university merit grant. She assumed her tuition bill would drop by $27,000. However, when her bill arrived, she noticed her university grant had been reduced to $5,000. This is the phenomenon known as scholarship displacement. In the eyes of the university's financial aid office, Mia's total need had decreased because of her outside award, so they redirected their institutional funds to another student. Mia essentially did all the work to win that $12,000 scholarship only for the university to be the primary beneficiary. To combat this, you must understand the federal over-award rule. Federal regulations state that a student's total financial aid cannot exceed their cost of attendance by more than $300. However, how a university reaches that limit is often discretionary. The key to the financial architecture strategy is the self-help reduction request. When you notify your university of an outside scholarship, you must proactively request in writing that the funds be applied first to your self-help aid. Self-help aid includes your student loans and your work-study requirements. By applying the scholarship to these areas first, you are reducing your future debt and your current labor requirement rather than losing your free institutional grants. Case studies from 2026 show that students who use this specific phrasing, "I request that this outside award be used to reduce my unmet need and my self-help components," see significantly better potential outcomes in maintaining their total aid package. Historical trends in 2026 indicate that several states, including California, Washington, and New Jersey, have passed legislation strictly limiting or banning scholarship displacement for students below certain income thresholds. You must research your specific state's laws and your university's specific policy manual. If your university is engaging in displacement, cite the state law or the university's own mission statement regarding student affordability in your appeal. This is where your architectural research from step 1 pays off again. Knowing the policy better than the clerk at the window is your greatest form of leverage. Now, let's address the silent partner in your scholarship journey: the Internal Revenue Service. In the United States, scholarships are not automatically tax-free. According to IRS Publication 970, which governs tax benefits for education, scholarship funds are only tax-free if they are used for qualified educational expenses. In 2026, the definition of these expenses is very specific: tuition, mandatory enrollment fees, and required books, supplies, and equipment. This means that any portion of your scholarship that goes toward room and board, travel, or optional equipment is considered taxable income. Imagine a student named Noah from Nashville who receives a full-ride scholarship worth $65,000 a year. $30,000 covers his tuition and books, while the other $35,000 covers his high-end dorm and meal plan. At the end of the year, Noah is surprised to receive a tax bill for several $1,000s because that $35,000 is treated as earned income. To manage this, you must maintain a meticulous ledger of qualified expenses. Every receipt for a required textbook, every lab fee, and every piece of software mandated by a syllabus must be archived. When tax season arrives in 2027, you will need this documentation to prove that as much of your scholarship as possible was spent on qualified items. A high-level tactic used by savvy students in 2026 is the scholarship to 529 optimization. If you have a 529 college savings plan and you win a scholarship, you can actually withdraw an amount from your 529 equal to the scholarship amount without paying the usual 10% penalty on the earnings. While the earnings portion of that withdrawal is still taxable, this allows families to reclaim their college savings for other uses, like a down payment on a first apartment after graduation, while the scholarship covers the immediate tuition. This is a complex maneuver that requires coordination with a tax professional, but it illustrates how scholarships can be used as a broader tool for financial health. Furthermore, we must discuss the disbursement logistics. Some scholarships are paid directly to the school, while others are paid via a check to the student. If a check is made out to you, do not simply deposit it into your checking account and start spending. This money is legally earmarked for education. The best practice is to deposit it into a dedicated education-only account, and then pay the university or purchase your books from that account. This creates a clean paper trail that is vital if you are ever audited, or if the university questions your outside funding. In 2026, digital banking makes this easier than ever, but the discipline remains the same. Another critical element of financial architecture is the cost of attendance, COA, appeal. Most scholarships are capped by the university's official COA. If you find that your total scholarship amount is higher than the COA, the university will often refuse to disburse the excess. However, the official COA is often an estimate that doesn't account for the reality of being a student in 2026. If you have a long commute, if your specific major requires an expensive specialized laptop, or if you have higher than average medical expenses, you can file a COA increase request. By officially raising the ceiling of what the university thinks it costs for you to attend, you create room for your extra scholarship money to be disbursed to you as a refund check. Consider the case of Sophia, a computer science major in Oregon. Her university's COA didn't account for the $2,000 professional grade workstation she needed for her senior project. By submitting her receipts and a letter from her professor, she increased her COA by $2,000, which allowed the university to release $2,000 of her excess scholarship money that they were previously going to hold. Sophia used that refund check to pay for her specialized equipment, effectively making the purchase tax-advantaged because it was now a qualified expense. As you manage these funds, you must also be aware of the 1098-T form. This is the tuition statement the university will send you every year. You must compare this form against your own records and the awards you received. Errors are more common than you might think, especially when it comes to the timing of when scholarships are applied versus when tuition is billed. A mismatch here can trigger unnecessary tax liabilities or cause you to miss out on the American Opportunity Tax Credit, AOTC, which is worth up to $2,500 per year. The financial management of your scholarships is a continuous cycle of documentation, communication, and optimization. It is about protecting the net value of your hard work. But even with a perfect financial structure and a full portfolio of awards, there is a dangerous undercurrent in the scholarship world that can derail everything. In 2026, the market for undergraduate funding has been flooded with predatory opportunities and high-tech scams that look identical to legitimate foundations. If you can't distinguish between a genuine benefactor and a data mining operation or a scams-as-a-service scheme, your personal and financial security are at risk. In the next part, we are going to expose the dark side of the scholarship market, showing you exactly how to spot the red flags that even the most experienced students miss. The landscape of undergraduate funding in 2026 is a digital frontier, and like any frontier, it is populated by both pioneers and predators. While we have spent the last 7 sections mastering the mechanics of securing legitimate capital, we must now pivot to the defensive. The dark side of the scholarship market is a sophisticated ecosystem of data harvesters, identity thieves, and fee-based scams that target the hope and desperation of students and their families. As of early 2026, Cybersecurity experts have noted a 40% increase in scholarship-related phishing attempts compared to the previous 2 years. These are no longer obvious emails from a foreign prince. They are high-fidelity, artificial intelligence-enhanced replicas of university portals and government websites. The most common predatory model in the 2026 market is the data mining sweepstakes disguised as a scholarship. Imagine a student named Tyler from St. Louis. Tyler is browsing a popular social media platform and sees an ad for an easy $5,000 scholarship that requires no essay, no GPA, and only 60 seconds to apply. All Tyler has to do is provide his name, date of birth, phone number, and intended major. Tyler thinks, what do I have to lose? What Tyler doesn't realize is that he isn't applying for a scholarship. He is the product. The organization behind the ad is a lead generation firm. Within 48 hours, Tyler's phone is inundated with high-pressure sales calls from unaccredited for-profit colleges, predatory loan lenders, and overpriced test prep services. More dangerously, his personal data is sold on the dark web, where it can be combined with other leaked information to facilitate identity theft. A critical rule of the 2026 scholarship defense is the zero-fee mandate. Any organization that asks for an application fee, a processing fee, or a redemption fee is a scam. Legitimate scholarships are funded by endowments, corporations, or foundations specifically to give money away, not to collect it. There is a common psychological trick called the small fee hook, where a scammer claims you have won a $10,000 award, but need to pay a $50 administrative fee to release the funds. Historical trends show that thousands of families fall for this every year. Once that $50 is paid, the scammer disappears. In some case studies, families have lost thousands of dollars after being talked into paying insurance fees or tax withholding fees for scholarships that never existed. Another emerging threat in 2026 is the AI-generated fake foundation. Scammers use large language models to create entire websites for non-existent organizations, complete with fake mission statements, fabricated boards of directors, and AI-generated photos of past winners. They often name these foundations something generic yet authoritative, like the American Higher Education Initiative or the National Student Prosperity Fund. To protect yourself, you must use the WHOS lookup protocol. Before spending an hour on an application, Tyler should check when the website was created. If a foundation claims to have been helping students for 20 years, but its domain was registered 3 months ago in a jurisdiction outside the United States, that is a definitive red flag. Furthermore, we must address the guaranteed results trap. As we have discussed throughout this masterclass, there is no such thing as a guaranteed scholarship. Any service that claims they can guarantee you will win a certain amount of money if you pay for their consulting is engaging in deceptive marketing. These services often just fill out the same FAFSA and local applications you could do yourself, or worse, they provide you with plagiarized essays that will eventually get you disqualified or even expelled for academic dishonesty. The case of a student named Isabella in 2025 serves as a warning. She paid $3,000 to a scholarship consultant who promised her $50,000 in awards. Not only did she receive $0, but the essays they provided were flagged by an AI detection tool at her top choice university, leading to a rescinded admission offer. Strategic defense also requires understanding the difference between a scholarship search engine and a scholarship provider. Search engines like FastWeb or CapEx are legitimate tools, but they are often subsidized by advertising. You must manage your privacy settings within these tools. Use a dedicated email address specifically for scholarship applications, something like tyler.scholarships2026@email.com, to keep your primary inbox clean and to isolate any potential spam. Never use your social security number on any platform other than the official FAFSA.gov or the CSS profile on collegeboard.org. If an external private scholarship asks for your SSN before you have actually won the award and are in the final stages of tax documentation, terminate the application immediately. In 2026, we are also seeing the rise of the social media scholarship contest. These are often legitimate marketing campaigns by major brands, but they carry a high cost in terms of digital footprint. A company might ask you to post a video explaining your dreams to win a scholarship. While the potential outcomes include funding, you are also giving that corporation the legal right to use your image and story in their advertising for years to come. You must read the terms and conditions. Are you comfortable with your face being the mascot for a brand of energy drinks for the next decade? Successful applicants in our case studies are those who selectively engage with brands that align with their professional goals, ensuring that their scholarship-seeking activities don't contradict their long-term career branding. Let's look at the verification protocol. If you are unsure about an organization, look for their Form 990. In the United States, all nonprofit organizations are required to file this document with the IRS. It is public record. You can search for any foundation on a site like GuideStar or Charity Navigator. A legitimate scholarship-granting foundation will have a clear record of its assets, its board members, and most importantly, the amount of money it actually gave out in grants the previous year. If you can't find a 990, the organization is either extremely new or potentially fraudulent. There is also the threat of search engine manipulation. Scammers use search engine optimization (SEO) to push their fraudulent sites to the top of Google searches for high-volume terms like scholarships for minority students or nursing scholarships 2026. Do not assume that because a site is the first result that it is the most legitimate. Often, the best scholarships, those small local ones we discussed in Part 2, have the worst websites because they are run by volunteers at a local community center. They don't have an SEO budget, they have a scholarship budget. This is why architectural research is about finding the providers, not just clicking the ads. Consider an imagine-if scenario. Imagine if Tyler receives an email stating he is a finalist for a scholarship he doesn't remember applying for. The email looks official and asks him to confirm his bank account details so they can wire the funds. This is a classic spear phishing attack. Legitimate organizations will almost always notify you via a formal letter in an online portal you created, or through a verified email address that matches the domain of the application you submitted. They will never ask for bank details in an initial email. Tyler should instead go to the organization's official website, independently of the link in the email, and find a contact number to verify the claim. The dark side of the market thrives on the fact that students are overwhelmed. They count on you being too tired to check the domain registration or too excited to notice the lack of a 990 form. By staying vigilant and following these defense protocols, you ensure that your energy is spent on real opportunities. You are not just a hunter of scholarships. You are a guardian of your own data and future. But even with a secure and successful strategy, there is one final piece to the puzzle. Scholarship funding is only one half of the debt-free degree equation. The other half is the strategic management of the costs you cannot cover with scholarships. If you don't understand the interplay between scholarships and the broader economy of the university, you might win the battle but lose the war. In the next part, we are going to look at the global comparison, analyzing how U.S. scholarships stack up against international options, and how to leverage your U.S. profile for global funding. While your primary focus may be on the United States, the strategic applicant in 2026 must understand that the American scholarship landscape does not exist in a vacuum. We are now entering the global leverage phase of this masterclass. To truly maximize your potential outcomes, you must analyze how U.S.-based funding can be integrated with international opportunities, or even how a U.S. domestic profile can be used to unlock full-ride education in global academic hubs. For many American students, the biggest hurdle to a debt-free degree is the sheer cost of living and tuition in major U.S. cities. However, historical trends show that an increasing number of U.S. students are successfully applying their scholarship-seeking skills to international universities that offer English-taught programs at a fraction of the cost, often with dedicated funding for American applicants. Imagine a student named Olivia from Seattle, Washington. Olivia wants to study international relations. In the U.S., the top-tier schools for this major easily cost $70,000 per year. Even with a $20,000 scholarship, she is still looking at a massive gap. Olivia decides to pivot her architectural research to the global market. She discovers that many universities in Germany, the Netherlands, and even the Czech Republic offer undergraduate degrees in English. More importantly, she finds that many of these countries have bilateral agreements or specific foundations, like the DAD in Germany or the Holland Scholarship, designed specifically to attract talented international students. In Olivia's case study, she applied her narrative pivot, focusing on her volunteer work with refugee resettlement, to the Amsterdam Merit Scholarship. She secured an award that covered her full tuition, which was already significantly lower than U.S. rates, and provided a stipend for living expenses. By shifting her geography, she turned a $20,000 gap into a zero-debt outcome. In 2026, the concept of the Global Transferable Scholarship is a powerful tool. Some U.S.-based private scholarships, such as those from large multinational corporations or certain private foundations, are often portable. This means you can win the money in the U.S. and use it to pay for a degree at a recognized university abroad. You must verify this in the fine print of the scholarship bylaws. If the language states that the funds must be used at a Title IV eligible institution, you are in luck. There are hundreds of international universities that are Title IV eligible, meaning they can accept U.S. federal loans and, by extension, many portable private scholarships. This creates a massive leverage point. You can use American-sized scholarship awards to pay for international-priced education, often resulting in a surplus that covers your entire cost of living. Let's look at the data regarding the value of a U.S. profile in the global market. American high school students are often highly valued by international admissions committees for their extracurricular breadth and community service records, which are less common in many other educational systems. In 2026, many universities in East Asia, particularly in South Korea and Japan, are aggressively recruiting American students to diversify their campuses. They offer global excellence scholarships that often include tuition waivers, free housing in international dormitories, and even monthly stipends. For a student like Marcus from Houston, who has an interest in robotics, applying to a top-tier technical university in Tokyo resulted in a financial package that was mathematically impossible to find at a comparable U.S. institution. He didn't just get a degree, he gained a global network and fluency in a second language, all while maintaining a net positive bank account. Furthermore, we must discuss the study abroad scholarship stacking strategy. Even if you decide to stay in the United States for your full 4 years, you can significantly reduce your total costs by timing your scholarship applications for international components of your degree. Organizations like the Gilman International Scholarship or the Boren Awards provide substantial funding, sometimes up to $20,000, for students to study abroad in locations critical to U.S. national interests. In 2026, these awards are being expanded to include shorter-term summer programs and research fellowships. If you stack a Gilman Award on top of your existing university merit aid, you can effectively have the most expensive semester of your college career fully funded, including your flights and cultural excursions. Consider the psychological advantage of the international lens in your application. When you are applying for a scholarship back in the U.S., whether it is for your junior year or a postgraduate award, having international experience on your resume sets you apart from 95% of other applicants. Scholarship committees in 2026 are increasingly looking for global competency. A case study of a student named Chloe from Atlanta shows that her summer spent researching sustainable agriculture in Brazil, funded by a private travel grant, was the primary reason she won a major national environmental scholarship when she returned to the U.S. The committee saw her as a student who could operate on a global stage, making her a much lower-risk investment for their high-value award. However, navigating the global market requires its own level of architectural research. You have to understand the difference between a tuition waiver and a full ride. In many European countries, tuition is free or very low for everyone, but the cost of living in cities like Paris, Munich, or Stockholm is extremely high. Your scholarship strategy must pivot to focus on living cost grants rather than tuition scholarships. This is where you look for organizations like the Rotary International or specific heritage-based scholarships. If you are of Italian, Irish, or Polish descent, there are often foundations in the U.S. that offer scholarships specifically for you to study or research in your ancestral homeland. These are niche, high-value opportunities that most students never even consider. Another emerging trend in 2026 is the Virtual Global Internship Scholarship. With the stabilization of remote work, many international companies now offer paid virtual internships that include a scholarship component for the student's home university. This allows you to gain international work experience and secure funding without ever leaving your dorm room. Companies in the UK, Singapore, and Australia are leading the way in this space. By securing one of these positions, you are essentially adding an international salary and an international scholarship to your domestic financial aid package. Imagine if you could attend a university where the total cost for 4 years, including travel and housing, was less than 1 year at a mid-tier U.S. school. This is the reality for students who master the global comparison. It requires a high degree of initiative and the ability to navigate different application systems. But the reward is a degree that carries international prestige without the anchor of American student debt. You are essentially arbitraging to your education, gaining the highest quality instruction at the lowest global price point. This global perspective completes the strategic circle of the debt-free degree. You have the domestic research, the application engineering, the interview skills, the financial architecture, and now the global leverage. But even with all these tools, there is one final, overarching factor that determines who wins and who loses in the scholarship game. It isn't about how smart you are, how much money your parents make, or even how well you write. It is about a specific habit of persistence and a technical method of volume that separates the $1,000 winners from the $100,000 winners. In the final part of this masterclass, we are going to pull back the curtain on the high-volume execution system, the exact daily routine used by the most successful scholarship hunters in America to ensure they never run out of opportunities. This is the final step that turns a strategy into a reality. The high-volume execution system is the final engine that powers everything we have discussed. In the world of undergraduate funding in 2026, the difference between a student who secures $5,000 and a student who secures $100,000 is rarely a difference in intelligence. It is a difference in the volume of high-quality submissions. We have moved past the era where you can apply to 5 scholarships and hope for a victory. To achieve the potential outcomes we are targeting, you must treat scholarship hunting like a high-performance sales funnel. This is the process of converting a massive pool of opportunities into a concentrated stream of revenue for your education. Imagine a student named Xavier from Austin, Texas. Xavier is entering his senior year in 2026 with a clear goal: to graduate from his university of choice without a single dollar of private student loan debt. Xavier does not wait for inspiration to strike. He implements the 90-minute sprint. Every single morning from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., before his high school classes begin, Xavier is in his scholarship command center. He is not browsing, he is executing. Because he built his master essay bank in step 2, he is able to adapt his core modules to 3 different applications every single morning. By the end of a single school week, Xavier has submitted 15 high-quality applications. By the end of the month, he has 60. Historical trends show that the average success rate for well-engineered scholarship applications is approximately 5% to 10%. If you only apply to 10 scholarships, there is a statistically significant chance you will receive 0. However, if you apply to 100 scholarships using Xavier's high-volume execution system, the math shifts in your favor. Even at a conservative 5% success rate, you are looking at 5 successful awards. If those awards average just $2,000 each, that is $10,000 in recurring annual funding, or $40,000 over your degree. This is how the middle market of scholarships is won. Not through one giant win, but through the cumulative power of volume. The secret to maintaining this volume without burning out is the modular drafting technique. In 2026, the prompts for scholarships have become highly standardized. Almost every application will ask you about your leadership, your community service, or your future goals. Xavier does not write a new essay for every application. Instead, he has a library of Lego blocks, paragraphs that are pre-vetted, spell-checked, and optimized with the specific psychological triggers we discussed in the interview phase. When he finds a new scholarship, he simply identifies which blocks fit the prompt, snaps them together, and spends 10 minutes customizing the opening and closing sentences to reference the specific foundation by name. This customization is critical. It proves to the committee that he isn't just copy-pasting, even though 80% of the content is pre-built. Let's look at the concept of the pipeline management. In 2026, the sheer number of deadlines can be overwhelming. Xavier uses a digital Kanban board, a project management tool that allows him to see his applications moving from to-do to in progress to submitted to follow-up. This visual representation of his work provides a dopamine hit every time he moves a card to the submitted column. It transforms a daunting task into a game of progress. Case studies of top-performing students reveal that this level of organization reduces decision fatigue, allowing them to save their mental energy for the actual writing rather than wondering what to do next. Another pillar of high-volume success is the rejection resilience protocol. In a high-volume system, you will be rejected far more often than you will be accepted. Most students take a rejection as a sign that they aren't good enough and they stop applying. Xavier views a rejection as a data point. If he sees that a certain type of essay isn't winning, he tweaks the narrative pivot. He treats the scholarship market like an A/B test in digital marketing. He might send one version of his leadership essay to 20 scholarships and a different version to another 20. By tracking which version gets him to the interview stage, he continuously optimizes his conversion rate. This is the scientific approach to funding. We must also discuss the senioritis trap. In the spring of 2026, many seniors stop applying for scholarships because they have already been accepted to college. This is the single biggest mistake you can make. The months of March, April, May, and June are actually the golden quarter for scholarship hunting. Many local organizations wait until the very end of the academic year to open their applications. Because so many students have stopped looking, the competition for these late-season awards drops by as much as 50%. Xavier increases his volume during this period, scooping up the smaller $500 and $1,000 awards that others are too tired to chase. These small amounts cover his books, his lab fees, and his travel expenses, ensuring that his larger merit grants can go entirely toward tuition. Imagine if you could earn $50 an hour as a teenager. That sounds like a dream job, right? But if you spend 20 hours on scholarship applications and win just one $2,000 award, your hourly rate for that work was $100 an hour. This is the perspective you must maintain. Scholarship hunting is the highest-paying part-time job a student can ever have. Even if you spend 100 hours and only win $5,000, you have still out-earned almost every other entry-level job available to you. The high-volume execution system also includes the alumni loop. Once Xavier gets to campus in the fall of 2026, he doesn't stop. He sets a recurring calendar invite for the first Sunday of every month to search for current student scholarships. He knows that as he moves from freshman to sophomore year, his value increases and his competition decreases. He begins to target niche specialty awards within his major. For example, as a mechanical engineering student, he targets scholarships for students specializing in renewable energy storage. The more specific he gets, the higher his success rate becomes. To sustain this for 4 years, you must build a support ecosystem. Xavier's parents and his guidance counselor are not just observers, they are his research assistants. He has taught them how to use his master spreadsheet and what red flags to look for. They help him by flagging new opportunities they see in local newspapers or on community boards, which he then plugs into his high-volume engine. This collaborative approach ensures that the search phase is always running in the background, allowing Xavier to focus entirely on the engineering phase. As we reach the conclusion of this masterclass, remember that the 3 easy steps we titled this video were a framework, but the execution is a marathon. You now possess the architectural research tools to find the hidden money, the application engineering skills to win the people, and the high-volume execution system to beat the odds. You are no longer a victim of the rising cost of education. You are a strategic navigator of a complex financial system. The debt-free degree is a series of calculated decisions made every single day. You have the data. You have the case studies. You have the step-by-step blueprints. The only thing left is the first sprint. Your education is the most important investment you will ever manage. Do not leave its funding to chance or to the generosity of institutions that are built to maximize their own revenue. Take control of your financial narrative. Build your portfolio of awards. And most importantly, never stop applying. The money is out there, waiting for the student who is disciplined enough to find it and skilled enough to claim it. The journey to a debt-free degree doesn't end here. There is a hidden layer of the college experience that can actually earn you money while you study, beyond just scholarships. In the next phase of our education series, we are going to look at the income-generating campus strategy, where we show you how to turn your dorm room into a research hub and your student status into a professional consultancy. We will dive into the world of high-value campus jobs, paid research fellowships, and the co-op models that can pay you a full salary while you earn your credits.